Hello and welcome back to the Shonen Dump Podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Bobby.
Groovin'.
Groovin' indeed. Alright, so similar to last week and the week before that and all the other ones, we're going to be covering all the manga that came out previous day, starting with One Piece.
Big chapter this week.
Ooh, and now it's going to be on break, too. It's going to be 1 month till we get more.
It's gearing up for what is supposedly the end game, though, so it's understandable.
We got the bounties, finally. Which,
I
mean, not all the bounties, just like 3 of them.
We got Luffy, Law, and Kid, so it's like, it's the guys who took down the emperors.
The boys. Yeah, I just want to see I mainly wanted to see all the Straw Hats, but this is fine. Like, this is kind of to be expected. Something I was confused about, the world government didn't want to keep the D in Luffy's name.
They're just doing as much as they can because a Joy Boy and the Will of D, I'm pretty sure they're trying to detach as much as possible. Like, they're scrambling to just detach it as much as they can at the moment.
Right, but I don't know, like, all his previous wanted posters still exist, you know what I mean? So, like...
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great plan, but it's kind of like if you're... Because at the end of the chapter, Luffy's declared to be a Yonko now. And if you're a Yonko, you know, that's... I can only imagine that's like the equivalent of saying, like, oh, this is like some like world leader like people have heard of, you know, like this is like American president levels of, like, you know, this is like Vladimir Putin, like Kim Jong-un type of stuff, you know, like people know the name. Like, I feel like once you hit that Yonko level, you gotta be like a household name at that point. They're all the same bounty, also 3 billion. I don't know if people expected that at all.
I did learn that, like, together Kaido and Big Mom's bounty was like 8,900,000,000 something. So I think that it's funny. Just like the 3 of them together one up the 2 of them.
I do want to say, because I've seen a few people discuss this, how people were saying, like, oh, Luffy deserves a significantly higher bounty because he 1v1'd Kaido, whereas Kid and Law, like, together had to fight Big Mom. But I think the 2 things to keep in mind there is, one, if the government is trying to, you know, keep the news on Joy Boy down a little bit, I feel like it would make sense to kind of downplay him, like, in the bounty, because 3 billion is like no small number, you know. But yeah, like, at the same time, I feel like they might not want to be too obvious. And the other thing though is it's not as though Kid and Law weren't involved with, like, also fighting Kaido. Like, Zoro did, like, damage to Kaido. Like, that is just confirmed that he actually injured Kaido, like, somewhat. Like, not to a insane degree, but, like, it was also still kind of a group effort regardless. And it's not like the CP0 guy, like, you know, I mean, he can only... How much of a, like... How in-depth was his, like, espionage and, like, surveillance of the situation, you know? I don't know.
Getting back to the general chapter, it's still party piece right now. We're still, like, celebrating. That poor, like, sushi chef preparing all that stuff for Jinbei, and Jinbei alone because the rest of them bailed because they didn't want to wait that long.
Yeah.
that's funny. I like that Jinbei's just chilling. Waiting patiently. It seems to me that it's all but guaranteed at this point that Yamato's on the crew.
That's how it feels to me, like 99%.
Like, we haven't gotten... The only thing we're missing is Luffy saying, yeah, you're on our crew now. I'm happy about it. I'm not upset. But going off of the parties where we get Robin Poneglyph lore...
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot more to this chapter than, like, just the bounties and the partying too. Like, and we definitely, because this is One Piece's endgame is coming up, and now we know guaranteed Pluton is here.
Odin's dad is alive, and he was the Tengu man.
And for some reason, he knows who Nico Robin is.
Right. This is the part of the chapter I was just kind of like, okay, I don't know.
I think it's like very important. Like this is like a key piece that will like fit into somewhere. We just don't know the details yet, because like we know Shirahoshi is like she's Neptune and she can, what is it, like control the Sea Kings or something like that, which is like insane. But we just don't even know. Like Pluton is supposed to be like the ship, right, or something like that, or no? Something? I don't know. I don't remember. Or is that Uranus? Either we don't know what Pluton does. We don't know why Pluton is so special. So we still have to wait a little bit on that. But we've been anticipating this for a long time, and it seems like once we come back, we'll get the details, and that's exciting to know that that's so close.
Lore piece, pretty interesting. I wanna see more, but we're going into a month break. But then immediately after, we finally see the Admiral, Green Bull.
Ryokugyu, Green Bull. The one thing I really want to see is what is his like little slogan for like what he believes justice to be. Because I think one of the coolest things about One Piece as a whole, like in its themes, like the fact that there's such a spectrum of what people believe justice to be, I find really, really interesting. And I really want to see what his is, because it seems like this guy's a little bit more of a loose cannon than the rest of the admirals, you know?
Yeah, it looks like he looks up to Sakazuki as well.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely wants his approval at the very least, which is pretty cool, pretty cool. He definitely seems like he's pretty strong. He just kind of like, I mean, granted, you know, they're all injured, but he just kind of like wiped the remnants of the Beast Pirates with like seemingly zero effort.
Yeah, that does spell probably some problems for Goofy Luffy and his friends. It's gonna be a fun escape, I think, from Wano.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this happens, because if Pluton is the ship, right, I guess they could maybe get on Pluton and escape, but I don't know where that leaves the Sunny. That's not like they can just abandon the Sunny.
They can't do that to the Sunny.
Yeah, I don't even know what they could possibly do, because it seems like everyone is in better shape now, but like things are still kind of tattered up, you know. And like I have to understand. I want to know what the extent of Green Bull's power is, because it seems like he just controls Flora, but like I don't know, because okay, there's a big difference between being like a Logia and like a pseudo Logia, but like maybe this is some weird mythical Zoan like god thing too. I don't know. So because he can sprout like helicopter flowers, apparently he can control like vines from the floor or something. He can like turn his fingers into plants, it looks like too. So I just, too many questions. I want to see it.
Yeah, but then we cut back to the party after the Admiral's shown off, and we get a million jillion questions with that. And there's something I wanted to talk about. Well, obviously Kid's pissed at Luffy that he got to be Emperor and Kid did not. So he's trying to attack him, but Luffy just hugs him and they start partying. But there's all these beautiful, gorgeous panels of this party going on. And there's one thing I wanted to talk about in particular. The bottom right panel of the left page of that big spread is like, there's so many like details and all these different ones, backgrounds, beautiful, everyone's celebrating. And then it's just Kinemon and I think her name is Suru. His wife, they're reunited. And I was hoping, that was one of the things I was looking forward to, like the celebration, was seeing them kind of like finally reunite. That was never really shown, and I guess it's just going to be something kind of simple here. And their panel was very like simple. Like all the rest of ones were very crowded and full, and theirs was no background, just them. And I was like, that's nice. I like that panel a lot. Then you know, all this celebration, and we finally learn that Buggy D Clown is the fourth emperor, along with Luffy, Shanks, and Blackbeard.
Big reveal. It's so awesome to me that Buggy has faked it till he made it to the absolute top. I just can't believe that he's like, what did he do to warrant this? I need to know. What do people think of Buggy?
He fell upwards so far. It's so good.
That's the perfect way to describe it. He fell up. Like, no, like, he shouldn't be here, but he is here. It's like, that's so funny, dude.
So something I'm thinking is, you know how like Sword was going after all of the warlords and Buggy was among them?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's entirely, I think there's two possibilities in my brain. Obviously could be wrong, whatever. But what I'm thinking is I think the world government knows he's kind of a joke. Because, I mean, they employed him. He was one of the 7 warlords. So there's two possibilities. They either sent their least strong guys to get Buggy, and he's the only warlord that got away. And so the rest are captured, and he's seen as a stronger threat than he actually is. Or when he was captured, he orchestrated a breakout, and now all the warlords are now with Buggy, and he's the leader. Both of those things could have happened. Which would be really funny if Buggy now had one of the strongest crews with all 7 warlords behind him.
I mean, hey man, who knows? Maybe he's just awakened his devil fruit, and he's just that insane for real. I wouldn't be surprised though, because it seemed as though Gecko Moria did not seem like he was that strong. But his power and influence, I think, mostly derived from kind of his crew, not necessarily himself. And I guess maybe Buggy kind of falls under that too. But I don't know. I mean, there's so many reasons. It could be like a political ploy by the world government. It could be like maybe he's actually doing something crazy. I don't know. But like, it's really funny that he's here, regardless. That he is a Yonko.
Yeah, no, ooh, that's so exciting. I know a lot of people are upset. They don't think Buggy deserves it.
I mean, us as the audience, when we see Buggy, it's not how everyone else in the One Piece world views Buggy. Like, even his crewmates, see him in a completely different light than like we the audience do, because we're basically omniscient relative to everyone else in the One Piece world. We've seen him lose to like pre-time skip Luffy, like in all the way back in the East Blue, but how many other people, like, here's the thing though, now Luffy's an emperor, so it's like, is that really a big loss? I don't know. Like, in retrospect, in hindsight, it's like, I'm not sure. Like, you have to remember that this Luffy was like a rising star who beat people like Crocodile. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, people talk about the feats and whatnot, and it's like, dude, like, Buggy's losses kind of only scaled well.
You gotta remember, like, Marineford, like, his feats were actually pretty impressive. Like, he tangoed with Mihawk. The world's strongest swordsman couldn't beat Buggy. And that's just kind of that's a matter of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, people will call that a matchup thing, but like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
From the outside looking in, that looks like he's got it together. That looks like he's strong.
Yeah, like, if the fact that like, and like, people were shocked when they found out that like, because Buggy was like, he treats Shanks like a homie, because they grew up together. And so when he's just like shitting on Shanks like verbally, and everyone's just like, oh fuck, you're confident enough to like mess with Shanks, and he's not just one-shotting you for no reason in response? What do you mean? Like, people don't know the history. They see that and they're like, that's crazy. He's Yonko level.
It's great that Buggy and Shanks are together though, as emperors.
I really like how in the spread of the panel, it kind of looks like Shanks is averting his eyes directly away from Buggy.
It's funny how the three of them are all laughing. Blackbeard, Luffy, and Buggy, and Shanks is very serious. The stuff we know of him from Luffy's perspective, Shanks was always like giggly and laughy, for the most part.
I'm excited though, man. I mean, if Oda needs 1 month to like really gear up,
he deserves all the breaks in the world. But I regardless, I love me content. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, we'll see though. It was a really great chapter of One Piece. I'm pretty satisfied with where he left off, but I'm of course still hankering for more.
Me and Roboco. I like this chapter. It didn't get the like. I wasn't in love with it like I was the last couple. It didn't like make me lose my lunch laughing, but I don't know. This was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. I like this character in particular, not my favorite, but I mean, it was fine. She like basically, you know, is running out of money because she's trying so hard to be cute to catch up to Roboco. And now she has to work as a maid like in a maid cafe to like make money, ironically, like with Roboco.
I like that when Bondo shows up and she hates Bondo, like she does like the maid cafe job, but like with aggression, like pouring like hot sauce or something in his drink, and like, or bone broth, and writing "get lost" on his omelet.
Yeah, that was the one that got me. That was pretty funny. But then Bondo defends her when she like goes a little bit too far because she's supposed to be military grade.
Yeah, Bondo's a good boy. Bondo's a nice boy.
He's the bestest boy. Yeah, I think the one thing that me and Roboco do, like, I hesitate to say does well. It's more like it fulfills a position really effectively, where it's like there's so many series like. You see Undead Unluck, it's like, oh, they're fighting. Jujutsu Kaisen, oh, they're fighting. Go to Mashle, oh, there's like more action. Blah, 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 action. And then me and Roboco is just like a really nice like change of pace. It's just a really good way to like refresh yourself from like the swath of battle shonen that exists. And it's always solid. It's a very consistent series. So it's just a nice rock to just go back to. The blue box this week, dude, it was from Shinatsu's perspective, but it looked like it was a pretty sportsy chapter.
Yeah, this one was about the sports, which is rare for the sports manga. It was a lot of like, he's been practicing for a long time, and you got this, he can do this, and just cool art. A lot of sweating, rapid motion, blur line.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to like mount his comeback. I think even Yusa is just like, he's getting faster or whatever, you know.
It's uncanny.
I think this chapter does something really interesting though, in that like it is extremely simple. It's like Chinatsu basically just being like, I know how hard he worked, but that's like kind of also the thing, is that it's like it's so intimate, because normally I feel like in a lot of sports series, it's like when we see that, it's like, yeah, we feel that because we've been there, you know, we saw them struggle. It's like, ooh, but from this perspective, it's like, it's similar, but it's got like a different kind of twist from how it usually goes. Because it's kind of like Chinatsu is just kind of like, I've been there. Like, she's literally physically been there. She's like seen everything. And that has just created like this emotional investment that she has. Because in a lot of cases, you know, the emotional investment is like, oh, come on, you deserve this. But it's like in this, it's because it has like that romantic edge to it, I feel like it feels a lot less like, I don't know how to explain it, so I'm just gonna use like onomatopoeia. It feels a lot less like bang, and it feels a lot more like
I mean, yeah, I would say your onomatopoeia explanation is fairly accurate. It's just the issue with it is it's kind of like an action chapter in a fight manga where like you get through it so quick because it's just like, oh, yeah, look at the panel, all right, move on to the next one. Like, it's not, there's not much to like focus on for a long time. I blasted
through in like 2 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, I enjoyed it though. It was a good chapter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Aliens area, first half I really liked. The second half was okay.
I thought it was fine. You know, it was a fine chapter. I think that like the introduction to like the new characters is like all right. We got like I think a decent amount of characterization for each of them. It was pretty cool. I like this scene where it's like at the beginning, you know, a comeback to like the first chapter.
I like seeing him interact with his younger siblings. Like, probably my favorite part of this whole thing. Him taking care of them and them being good kids.
It's just like you like the wholesomeness of it, or
Yeah,
like
I don't have siblings, so I don't know like what it's like. But if I did, it would be I would like I imagine it to be like a situation like this. Obviously, without dead parents, that's not ideal. But you know, like just kind of all getting along.
I'm a youngest sibling, so I probably have the opposite perspective of these interactions that are going on.
I like the panel where he's like studying for this job, and he has a motivational thing on the wall that just says send his siblings to college, which is cool. The art when they're inside the like when you first meet the new characters, it looks really cool. I like the weird alien monster thing in the background. It looks disgusting. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of the aliens are consistently looking super good in this series, which that's what you got to be doing. So
Yeah, I don't like the girl's hat.
you don't like the little like South Park Stan hat, dude?
Well, it's not the fact that the hat looks bad. It's the fact that she's wearing. It's like she put the beanie just on the tip of her head, like a yarmulke or something, and it's just sitting there. She's not pulling it down, so it's just loose air.
I think the hat is too big. I think it is the hat's fault.
Really?
I don't
Because
think
it doesn't. It's like the tip of it is like.
How else
here.
is she supposed to wear it? It's gonna start covering her eyes if it goes any further down.
You got to pull it down in the back. It goes down in the back, and in the front, it's like, you know, it's still gonna be a little big, yeah, but it's gonna be less stupid looking.
I don't know, man. I feel like with how big the hat looks, I don't think that fixes it. I think she's just got to own the fact that it's a big ass hat.
The girl wants to fight.
Supposedly because she is super into Shiraku, and he's just like, I don't like how he treats you special. So she's you know, she's gearing up to throw hands.
He throws hands.
I guess, yeah, he literally is throwing hands. You know, it started pretty good, and then it just introduces the characters. Can't go wrong there. Like, we're supposed to know like who's in here. You know, it can't just be Sharaku and Tatsumi. But I you know, there's got to be more people. This is like a whole government organization thing. I'm not gonna say that it was, you know, it was necessary. We needed this. Choujin X. I gotta say, I think it might just be because it's so edgy and I love edge, but like I love the style of this series like so much. I think it's like really cool. I thought like this chapter was like it's kind of more the same, but I'm not tired of the whole characterizing the relationship between Tokyo and Azuma. So I'm taking this. I'm eating it.
Yeah, that was a hell of an intro to a series. 24 chapter intro.
I know, right? That's what I was gonna say. Like they did the name drop at the end, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the prologue, basically.
I first read this like really late at night. I was like gonna go to bed shortly thereafter, and I like looked at it and I was like, is that the end? Wait, did it just end? And I like read it again. I was like, oh wait, no, this is that was just the prologue. End? I was very confused for a second, but that prologue, the like best friend character like learning kind of his lesson was pretty neat.
What would you say the lesson was?
That he's not like the best, I guess. That he needs to be more like humble.
Because I kind of wonder how much he like quote unquote learned. Because like you see like later in the scene at the beach, and he sees like the hyena looking thing getting like picked on by the birds, and he like runs over to try and like save it. I feel like there's a big part of him that still wants to like try and hang on, even though he like feels this like looming threat of like Tokyo like usurping him.
I don't know. He might go the whole Sasuke route as the story goes on to seek more power or something. Not sure.
I do wanna say, because you were talking about how like Azuma is like that like Sasuke-ish kind of archetype. I think one of the things that makes me so like attracted to like the way his character is being written is the fact that it's the way they're painting it. Because you know, when you see like a Sasuke, it's very prideful, and it's like it's very, you know, the impression that you get is that he's kind of an asshole who thinks he's like just, you know, better than you. But like that's not kind of the direction that we see. It's more so like he's just like the confident friend. It almost seems like he's the one who's supposed to be the real protagonist of the series, but we actually find that there's like this really like deep layer of insecurity, and I find that really compelling because like Sasuke, I think in Naruto also had that kind of layer of insecurity about him, but I think you had to dig a lot deeper for us to like get there. I really enjoy seeing the layers like behind Azuma's character. It's really satisfying to like keep digging through.
I want to see him grow and hopefully not go to the dark side as, you know, the series progresses. And I hope he trains under the small face man. And
I don't know if that's gonna be how it works.
I
feel
don't
like
know.
the small face man might be one of the bad guys.
You think so?
I think it's possible. I mean, here's the thing.
He's got a small face.
When they go to the whole narration thing, it's like the first part of the narration is like, among the Choujin, it is said that once in every generation, a single Choujin is born with the power to annihilate an entire world. That's gotta be bad news, man. That sounds like bad news. I feel like the small face man, based on the narration, you know, it's just artistically lines up that way. I feel like they're expecting Azuma to maybe be that person, to be that Choujin. Because we start the chapter with like him trying to master his Choujin powers or something, right? And like he's clearly very strong. It's kind of crazy how like Azuma has so many feats and yet he still feels like this extreme inferiority. But I feel like the people around him recognize him as extremely strong. And that's why I feel like this small face guy is like maybe approaching Azuma like because they think he is Choujin X. Because there's no confirmation of who is Choujin X, right?
I got the vibe that it was Tokyo.
That's what I was kind of feeling too, right? I feel like it's supposed to be Tokyo, but I don't know what anyone in world thinks.
I would like to get a chapter of them discussing that. That'd be cool to like learn world building wise, but I mean the chapter ends with Tokyo waking up and saying what is he gonna do with Azuma. So I don't know. I wonder what their relationship is gonna be like. Is Tokyo just gonna kind of be cool with all of it, go back to being normal? It doesn't seem like it with how the last couple fights went.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm super invested in Choujin X, like the relationship that they've built like between these two characters, as well as like just the two characters individually on their own. I think is like just so intriguing. It's so cool. I'm always waiting for the next chapter, to be honest. I'm always very excited to read this one.
Undead Unluck. The fight continues between Andy and Nico. I think that this chapter used a lot of words to say almost nothing that the previous chapter didn't say.
I actually feel like I don't have enough words to like explain what I read. So I feel like the idea was kind of loose, but I feel like the point of the conflict was something like very, I don't want to say it was deep. It was kind of on the nose, but it kind of also almost doesn't matter.
This chapter just didn't really land with me. I thought the action was cool. All the words, like, there was a few panels where the words, like, felt like they mattered. I'm, like, looking at it right now, but, like, Nico, this isn't right. This isn't right. I know it. What isn't right? What? And it's just, like, I don't know. Maybe if it, like, actual dialogue, it's fine, but I wish there was more. I felt like the words needed to be a little bit more substantial, and it was just like they were just saying a lot of useless stuff that really didn't need to be there for the fight to exist in any capacity. Like, this fight had a lot of action going on, but it was just kind of bogged down with a billion text bubbles. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too unfair, but I just remember when I got to the last panel of him using his big attack, I was like, man.
So I feel like for me, when I read this chapter, I kind of understood what was trying to be said, because there's a lot of focus on like Nico and like the idea of like the ghost like completing his whatever, you know, they're like the doll things. They're like the doll things that hit people and whatever, and like they have like the negator abilities. He talked about how like the addition of the ghost rule completely changes the paradigm of like how strong his power is. And I feel like they didn't show that well, but I feel like that's what they said, so I'm just gonna go along with it. But I feel like the idea is that like the thing that makes the power strong is like the human soul. science that like is not tangible. There's like an intangible thing that like drives our power. And then at the end, when like Andy is there and he's kind of like, you need this lab to maintain the memories of like the girl, he's kind of like proving in a way that not all of the power can be internal, because as people, like, we are physically flawed. Like, our brains are like limited. We have a capacity, and that's where I think the conflict is supposed to be, from a very like philosophical like level. But I kind of understand where you're getting at, because I feel like it's not substantiated. They're just saying words as they're fighting, and the fight itself doesn't really represent what they're saying. They're just kind of being like so on the nose about it. It feels like you don't need to think about what they're saying. It's expecting the reader to do too much instead of guiding the reader through the ideas. They're just kind of like spitting words at you and like hoping that you get it for some reason, somehow.
We had two different takes on this, it seems. We both got like a complete opposite kind of opinion of this chapter.
I mean, your thought, I mean, I think the conclusion is similar though. Like, you're saying like it just felt like it was empty. And to me, I'm not saying that it was like empty, it was just not fleshed out. I feel like Undead Unluck does this a lot, where like the ideas are extremely complex, and I feel like it kind of oversimplifies a lot of the conflict to just kind of, you know, work out. I think it's really interesting. I think the ideas are really interesting. Like, if you try way too hard to look into it like I do, because that's just kind of how my brain is on like on the daily. But it's just like, you know, it doesn't hit. It doesn't hit because it's not earned. Like, the idea is there, it's just not being executed the best. And so it's just kind of like, it's ambitious, it's just not living up to the ambition. That said, like, I don't think it was executed awfully. I don't think it was terrible.
It looked impressive. It's just I felt the words.
Like, would you say, like, to you, it felt like it was pretentious? Or, like...
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
I definitely feel like it's a little pretentious. It just doesn't hit home. The idea, the skeleton of the idea is there. It's just not fleshed out at all. So I'm just kind of like, I see what you're doing, but, like, I'm not going to feel it if you don't do it right, you know?
One Punch Man was very strange this week.
I did like 3 mental double takes.
Yeah.
This chapter.
They had a message that was like, One Punch Man has been heavily revised. And I didn't see that until after I'd read it. But I got through like the first couple pages and I was like, wait a minute. What's going on here? And they revised the chapter, which I've never seen done before.
Yeah, they just retconned it, like just straight up retconned.
Which, it gave the fight a different vibe. Like, Saitama was kind of being a little bit more goofy. And, you know, as it went on, there was a point where, you know, we see a close-up of Saitama's face after a big attack. And he looks, like, super serious. And he does a big attack. And, like, before, like, Saitama's goal was not to, like, freaking kill the guy. But in this one, it seemed like he was just going for it. And, you know, he seemed a lot more menacing and less like, let's just chill out. And the chapter doesn't end with them in that beautiful scene in the house just chatting. He punches him out of his monster form. Does so much damage, he punches him out of that. And then some big feet come out of the sky and imbue Garo with galaxy power. The Samsung Galaxy, and
he's looking a little Ben 10 Alien Force, Alien X here, but yeah, you know.
And now they're gonna do a big fight, Awakened Garo, Cosmic Fear Mode.
I do think that the way that this chapter kind of executed the past, like, several chapters, like the way it redid them, it almost felt like it was trying to make Garo more sympathetic, if you know what I mean. Like, did you feel that too, or was that just me?
Really, because I feel like the last several chapters have been doing a good job of that, and this one is dehumanizing him a little bit. I think that, because, like, he was saving people, And Saitama was like, haha, like, you are a hero. And he's like, stop. He's like being kind of a tsundere. Like, don't, that's not what I'm trying to do. And he continues the fight, and it keeps going like that. And it's kind of was treating this fight not as seriously as people probably wanted it. And he was becoming more sympathetic. And then you get that last panel in the last version of it where he's like, all right, I guess I'd rather die than lose this. And Saitama's like, come on, let's go talk. And they sits down and they're talking. And I think that's like really humanizing, you know? This one, he just keeps getting stronger and stronger, and oh, like I'm gonna keep throwing myself at him, and he's just like, then he becomes Galaxy Guy.
Let me reframe what I think, because I think you are right. You're kind of changing my mind, but not to fit what you're thinking. I actually think it's dehumanizing Saitama more in this like way that it's doing it.
Well, yeah, he's less like kind to his opponent in this one.
Yeah, because the part that really struck me, the reason I was talking about that, because there's that panel where it's like skill, speed, power, whatever, and they were all like X'd out and whatever, and that was in the original thing. But the way that turned, I think it was different, because after after Garo gets punched like through mountains and he like is just in the water alone, like he sees Saitama come down, and the way Saitama's drawn is just like very like it's practically just a silhouette. And like when Garo is like, he's like the embodiment of an unfairness. I was just like, whoa, this is like, that's a completely different angle. Like, I guess I thought initially like it seemed like it was humanizing Garo, but really it's more so like Saitama is kind of just so inhuman, like that Garo, I guess, is compelled to also attempt to become, like, he's convinced that he maybe also needs to become less human. Like, it's him abandoning humanity because if he feels as though Saitama's the furthest thing from human.
Yeah, but now he's super crazy Galaxy Guy, and I kind of had a hope that he would become good after the last chapter. And now I wonder, does this still end that way? Does this still end with him being kind of redeemed, or is this going to end with him having to die now? I don't know. I hope not.
If I have to think about what would happen if they were to talk it out, you know, the development happens on Garo's end, and Garo becomes, like, quote unquote, a better character, you know, like, because of that interaction that would occur. But I feel like with this setup almost gives Saitama a more interesting way to progress him. The previous iteration made me feel was I was all on like Team Garo, you know. I'm trying to see like what happened, like how Garo's response to this is. But now it's like kind of painting Saitama in a different light to me. And so I'm kind of like, well, how is Saitama going to react to like the end of this? Is he like actually just going to be the same as he's always been? Because I don't know, I feel like this is like posing something that's like a little different than what I'm used to.
The one thing I want to say like about this is I think this chapter was great. I would have loved this if this is what came out originally, but because we have the first one to compare to, it feels like we went from somewhere that was a little bit more kind to a little bit more brutal. And for me, I'd say with the two in existence, it kind of tears me up a little bit, because that last ending scene was really beautiful, and now it's, you know, it might be gone for good at this point, so I don't know. But I do like it. I just kind of wish that we had it from the beginning if this is what is going to be the case.
So Doron Dororon, I gotta admit, I actually think that this might be the most interesting chapter that has existed so far, and I'm not saying that for any particular reason other than like essentially the very end.
Yeah, this is the first chapter I've enjoyed in a long time. That last fight that happened was not for me. I enjoyed Dora and Kusanagi meeting the like guy in charge and challenging him to like tree trimming. Seeing all the guys together too, all the big wigs together was really fun too.
Yeah, that was cool. I actually, there's two things about like that meeting that happened that actually like made my eyes perk up a bit. I was like, huh? Because first of all, they basically gave us an end goal in that one guy that they have to beat, right? They basically like the old guy was like, yeah, there's this one guy. He's the one who like makes all the Mononoke. We got to get rid of him. But I think, and I was talking before about how Doron Dororon just felt very directionless. And so I was just kind of like not invested in like the long term, like anything that was happening. But I think this is cool because it might stay directionless kind of, but it's a lot more focused now because killing all the Mononoke also means killing Kusanagi. And I feel like that conundrum is maybe the most interesting thing I've read out of this whole manga so far.
The now moral quandary of like the goal is in conflict with the main character's relationship with each other, which is cool, but I'm sure they're not going to kill Kusanagi. So it also kind of is just like, all right, how are they going to explain, oh, well, actually, he can still live if we do this, I'm just kind of waiting for that to pop up. But
if you want to be a little optimistic about it, you could kind of say that this is sort of a trolley problem type of scenario, because I feel like it's easy to think that killing all of the Mononoke is a net positive for society, right? But if it involves killing good Mononoke like Kusanagi, it's like, is this really the way that we have to do things? And so I'm kind of like, if I'm being pessimistic, I'm like you. I'm like, okay, yeah, this isn't gonna lead anywhere. But if I'm being optimistic, maybe they'll have a really interesting take on like the explanation of like why it might be worth it to save the one over the many. But I mean, that's just me trying to be optimistic because this is probably the most invested I've been in a chapter since like chapter 1. So
he's gonna reform all the Mononoke. They're gonna take away the evil gene.
I don't think that's possible.
They're gonna take away the evil gene, make them all good.
They've already no. If that happens, this is like the worst manga of all time.
Kusanagi, his ability is to take away evil, the feeling of evil. That's gonna be it. That's what's gonna happen.
And that's why he's such an effective sword at killing them, because it just eviscerates the evil.
Yup. I don't know. I want to be optimistic, but I don't really have
a reason to.
Yeah, there hasn't been much of like proving itself.
At the very least, there is potential in this setup, and I feel like this series thus far has been very low ceiling. The potential has seemed very, very low to me. So this raises that a little bit, so that hopefully means something cool is gonna happen.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Dude, I like this chapter a lot more because they didn't try to over-explain the power.
There was almost like no text for a little while, which was cool.
Yeah.
He got messed up. Is he gonna die? Did they give us all this stuff just to kill him?
Well, so he was supposed to be in like that unkillable state, right? Unless they like run out like at that exact moment.
Yeah, it said it just ended.
But he still has like the domain expansion that he's gonna do.
Yeah, the guy said, wait, you can still do that? I guess he could probably heal.
I mean, so his power, it sounds like if he just gets a lucky punch in, he gets like infinite cursed energy.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a chance that he like will still be fine.
I think it would be hilarious though if they did all of this and he just died. I think he's cool. I don't want him to. I just think it would be really funny if that's his fate, just being useless in the end.
I'm not gonna lie, because with that flashback and everything that they gave to like what I'm presuming is like the ancestor of the person Kinji's fighting.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna come out the winner. I don't know if Kinji will die per se, but I don't think that's out of the question. And we've seen in like the Shibuya arc, like this series is not afraid to get rid of characters.
It's true, but other than that, I mean, the fight happened. It was very visually impressive. I really liked it. They didn't give us panels and panels of this is how slot machines work. So, yeah. But I liked it. The fight was brutal. It was nice, and chapter kind of went by too fast because of it. But I like this one. This is the first chapter that I kind of knew what was going on the whole time.
Hey man, you say it went by too fast, but I'm just gonna say it's leaving me hankering for more. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, it was good.
It definitely reversed my feeling on the fight from the previous chapter, because that was my brain. I couldn't handle that.
I completely
think,
agree.
Yeah, I think focusing on the lightning abilities is a lot more effective because it's more simple.
Yeah, 100%. Super Smartphone is the best. It's really good. It's one of the best ones we're reading right now. I don't know how you felt about this most recent chapter, but it was sick to me.
I think it was really cool. I mean, I had a moment where I like did a double take because I was like, wait, what? Does that make sense? And then I thought about it more and I was like, oh, you know what? That does make sense. And it was that scene where they were talking about the profiling, and he asked her name like Somizu or something. The main character was asking the police chief like, what kind of traits do you know about this guy? And they were talking about how it was about like how he's adamant on gathering allies and making a spectacle out of their actions. And I was like, would they really know that? And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Wait, because last chapter, the way he introduced the whole thing was like that grand panel.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, they would get that, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I think it's the wording of it that kind of threw me off, because I was like, that's so specific. And they also showed them both saying it like at the same time. Or no, they didn't. Actually, I'm stupid. The way that this panel is drawn, it's his voice coming out of her phone. Yeah, I'm really dumb. I like it was too smart for me, to be honest. I had to like really think about it, but it was really good after I got over that. I was just like, oh, this is actually kind of sick.
The fact that he also revealed who he was too.
That was badass.
Wild.
I was like, oh shit. I was like, dude, this guy is like, he got balls.
It puts kind of like a timer on the whole situation. He's kind of has the momentum of this whole thing behind him now because he caught him off guard. So that was it was a big deal. He also kind of gets the general vibe of our main character. He has a lot of like clues to go off of to try and find him. This is pretty interesting. I'm excited to see their cat and mouse game continue.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine they're not going to meet him. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, they're going to probably try to avoid that as much as possible.
Right, but now that they know who he is, I'm really curious to see how he's going to manipulate that. Because if they have like a point that they're hyper focusing on, like his actual real life identity, he could probably misdirect them really hard, and I'm really interested to see if that's gonna be how that pans out.
The main character is shown to have like, you know, he's hiding behind a wall, whereas the bad guy, he's showing his face. He's kind of like being charismatic and like can, you know, he's like putting it all on the table, and that's a lot more like from a psychology perspective. That's like, whoa, this I trust this person because he's trusting me, you know, whereas the main character is still trying to hide himself. So like I think the cop is already pretty sus of him, so I don't think that'll happen, but it's kind of like it might make her second guess everything. Like, do I really trust the pseudonym guy when this guy's kind of laying it all out and he won't reveal himself? I don't know.
I definitely think that one part where he revealed like the villain as like basically guaranteed to be the high rise incident guy, like leader villain guy. That panel where it's like his face is like contorting, it's like really like darkened, and he's like grabbing at himself. Like I was just like, that was like that panel. I was like, whoa, dude, the art in this series, like it's popping off in like really cool ways. You know, that was a really sick panel. And it also like, you know, just further shows like part of his personality. He's a little psychotic, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, for a series like this with all these mind games, you gotta have a psycho in there, you know.
My Hero Academia. Well, I like that one panel that All for One's like devouring, it's like Saturn devouring his son. That was funny. Other than that, this is how the fight, I guess, was supposed to go. I don't know.
See, that's I feel like this should have been a good chapter. I have a really, I don't know how to feel about this. Had like this just been how the conflict had kind of been going, I would have been like, I think this is a good chapter. But the circumstances in which we got here make me feel like I just don't care.
Yeah, I think that this chapter was better than the last one.
Yeah, I mean, I that's what I am kind of trying to also get at. Like, I feel like the last chapter is dragging down how good this one should be. Because I feel like this should be a good chapter, but because it's like, it was established by what happened previously, like Jiro breaking All For One's mask and like the souls like stopping All For One, which the reason they gave was very, I don't know, it was out of nowhere to me. Like, it was like, oh, it's because I'm a synthetic body or whatever, and I'm like, what?
No, his quirk is synthetic. Because it's not, he gave the real quirk to Shigaraki, and this is a copy.
Yeah. Sorry.
But that's like stupid, because how do you know that for sure? Like how does he know that that's the reason that's happening? Like,
and it's not gonna get re-explained, you know?
No, that's just like the author saying this is your reason. Like, it's not like in universe, if something like that happened to me, I wouldn't be like, oh, it's because mine's a copy. I'd be like, what the hell is happening? Why is this happening?
Yeah, so it's like, it's not a Jiro thing.
Yeah.
Which, it was very ambiguous last time.
Yeah.
But it's also, like we said, what was happening last time, where it's like, it doesn't matter how you explain this. This is not exciting. This is not exciting for the readers. And so I feel like Endeavor here has, like, pretty good scenes, you know? He's like doing self-reflection, and he's like trying to pick himself up from that and like do what he can, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. But the only reason he has this opportunity is because of just weird nonsense that like us as the reader like could not have possibly have anticipated. Like, this is just kind of like cheapening like what should have been way more, I guess, like earned. Like, it just doesn't feel that earned anymore.
Yeah, I'm not as invested anymore, man. Not gonna lie to you. I go into this and I'm like, all right, let's get it over with. But like I said, enjoyed it more than the last one. I just think it's a shame. Yeah, he lost his like arm or something, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's probably not gonna matter too much going forward.
Yeah,
he's just gonna have like a cast or a robot arm like Miriko has. She lost like a leg and an arm, and it's all fine. She's still fighting fine. Mashle, this is the first time I've cared in a little while. Kind of cool. Tone's a bit changed for me.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone lost.
We're not dealing with all the characters we don't know anymore. Now they're all just on crosses.
They're all being crucified in the sky. Big bad guys like, bring me Mash, and everyone's like, and I won't kill you all. They're like, okay, and they're torturing the cool guys. Godot won.
They all won, really, but especially him. He was cool.
I will say, all that's cool. The seriousness of it is kind of nice now, because it's like all on Mash, which we always knew it was going to be in the end anyway. So it's kind of just like, okay, we're getting to it now. But one thing at the very end, the last 3 panels, is really funny to me. I actually really enjoyed the like goblin imp gator guy being like, I'm gonna join the bad guy. And she like, it just like immediately cuts to just like a 3-hit combo beating the tar out of that guy, and then it just cuts back to turning the gear, except this time he's laying right next to Mash, which is very funny.
Yeah, they made the same joke better by not doing the same joke. Who would have thunk that that's how you do it? But it looks like physically the progress on the key turns has not advanced much. That's sussing me out. But I mean, this, hopefully they just Mash wakes up, because that's what I've been waiting for the whole time.
Yeah, hopefully we just get back to characters that like matter.
Yeah, like if it were the main characters, like the people that we like more, that are more well established, that we know, this like big bad guy that this feels like, it would probably feel a lot better to like get through all the previous chapters. But Mash is finally gonna wake up soon, I hope, because he literally has to.
Sakamoto Days. I liked it. It was good.
It was fun.
A lot of goofy little shenanigans at this place. I liked the panels of Sakamoto when he's in the classroom. He's posing as his wife, and then
gets like angry that
oh yeah, he gets angry.
pissed.
Guys are like leering at his wife's body, which he is in, not like physically, but like, you know, he's in a disguise that looks like his wife, and he's like, I'm gonna make a mental note, I'm gonna kick their asses. And then like a button pops off, and he like, his fat just hangs out, which is funny, and he sucks it back in, which, you know, was a little funny visual gag. They get to a shooting range, and a guy tries to like make Sakamoto look bad on his first day being a teacher,
just randomly being totally sexist for no reason.
Yeah, just like, this is no workplace for women.
Cartoonishly sexist.
Just cartoonishly. And he puts the gun together, shoots, and it's awesome. I do like the panel where he's gonna go see the greatest shooting score of all time. You just see he's got like a derpy little face on. That's fun.
Yeah. I liked seeing that it was like Heisuke is probably the one who's like the top, and it was just like, oh, that you know, yeah. He's got to get something.
It is nice to see Sakamoto in. Oddly enough, it's nice to see him in this form because he emotes a lot more.
Yeah, I was about to actually mention that too. I feel like it was kind of taking me aback a little bit, because like normally we see like him have one expression, or I guess he has two expressions, one for each form that he's in. And I'm just kind of like, dang, this is like crazy. Like we can actually see his feelings.
And the other half of this chapter though is just Shin like living out high school tropes because he never got to do school.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah, it is cute. Not much is important there, but he runs into the invisible guy. That's sure to add some plot. I don't know. I like the Sakamoto stuff a lot more, I think, but
no, I mean the later part is just setting up for next chapter. So it's
true.
You know,
Ruri Dragon this week was not as bad as last week for me. I did not say it was a bad experience. Like it's very probably well written for people who enjoy this kind of thing. But for me, I did not hate this chapter.
What about it? Do you think you're like getting used to the scenario, or do you?
No, I think it's just the fact that like I could buy originally that the mom was nonchalant about this.
Because she knows about dragons.
Yeah, and it's just her and the mom. And I think that's what was cool with me in my brain. It wasn't like really weird scenario and everyone's just chill with it. Overall, she learns how to control her fire breathing in a very short amount of time.
I mean, it's less of like she learned how to control it, and more like her body adapted to the fact that she's growing this way now. Like this is basically her puberty, I guess. Yeah,
but I mean, her mom said, "Oh, you won't have any more misfires anymore. With just fire won't shoot out of you at random now."
She did say that sometimes it comes out the rear end though. So
Then the chapter, ended, and at the very end, she was like, "I wonder if I should go to school. Oh, there's my friend," and she's like, "Oh, it's great to bump into you. I'll see you at school tomorrow," and that kind of erased her fear of like, "Oh, I guess they want me to come back. That's nice." I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I definitely think because there's a lot of stuff that's like, I don't know if it's because of like literature I've read before or stuff like that, but I've been exposed to like, not even in manga, but like just in general literature, there's just like really weird surrealism that like exists, that's just like scenarios that are like kind of realistic, but people are just accepting like things are just strange for no reason. It's kind of like when you're in a dream, and like there's like this, and like you have that moment of like something impossible is going on, but like for some reason your dream self is like, yeah, there's like an internal logic to this that makes sense to me for some reason at this exact moment. It doesn't actually make sense when you step back at it, but it's kind of like that. It's supposed to be that sort of like feverish dream state, regardless, I think it's a cute chapter. I have to say, I really want to praise the art, not because the art is like the fidelity of it is like particularly great. Like it's very clean and it reads well, but I think the style is extremely good. Like for what this series is trying to convey, like there's a lot of white, but it's using like the negative space like very very well. Like the fire, I feel like if you look at My Hero Academia and you see like Endeavor flames, you know, it's so dark and like smoky and whatever, and it's all, you know. But I feel like in this series it's a lot whiter, like brighter. I feel like it really adds to like the very soft and clean tone that this series tries to convey. So I definitely think that the art is doing a really good job at conveying the tone that the series wants you to kind of, the state that it wants you to be in at all times. Very cozy. Any thoughts on the dad? Or
I don't know, he seems like a goofball. I imagine once we actually do meet him, it's gonna be like, this is the guy. But yeah, no, I think that it's got more promise than I probably gave it credit for the first time. But I think that's just because it was just so jarring for me. We'll have to wait and see. It's definitely something that does not exist elsewhere in this magazine. So
yeah, like I was saying this a lot last time, but I'm shocked that this is a Jump series. Akane Banashi. I thought it was a solid chapter.
Just continuing on where we left off pretty much. I thought the cool stuff happened with that girl. What's her name? Voice actor girl. I read, so the stuff that was going on is she's got like a country accent. I assume in Japan it's like their version of a country accent, but the way they like translated it, they gave it like a southerner accent. It's like, "Ma, that's cuz you," and then like she's talking what she thinks is in private, and the way she's talking is in a country accent. And I read through it like literally not realizing that's what it was going for until I realized, did she hear my accent? I was like, huh? So I like went back and reread that, and I was like, oh, she's secretly a country girl and is hiding it to look like a city girl. And I really like that bit of like, this is her hidden life, I guess.
It's definitely a trope that I've been exposed to a few times now, but I do think that it's like, it's fun. So I'm not, I'm not blown away or anything, but I'm kind of like, oh, okay, you're one of those. Is kind of my reaction.
You're one of those, but it seems like she's going to be a big rival for Akane. That's going to be cool. The pupil of the bad guy, I could say bad guy, but he's just a dude who she disagrees with. Guy. Yeah. As much as a bad guy can be in a story about performing a one-man play.
We won't call him the villain. He's the antagonist.
Fair enough. There you go. But his pupil's kind of like egging her on, saying like, yeah, we'll see if you're that good. And she has a goal, progressing forward. It's exciting. I'm invested. I'm ready. I'm ready to see this perform the secondary version of her play.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see where that goes, because I have my prediction is that she's going to say the Jugum story in a completely opposite way, where instead of focusing on the joke of, oh, it's so fast, she's gonna make it somehow very more emotional or heartfelt or intimate by like being very slow about it. That's my guess. And she's gonna like take a new spin on it, because I feel like that's the point that she's trying to learn from the senpai that she has, right? Like by learning the history of the story, she can understand it better, and by understanding it better, she can tell it in a different way. And so I'm assuming she's gonna go really deep into why the name is what it is, not just, oh, it's funny because it's a long name. But we'll see. I think this chapter, like you were talking about before, it definitely established the rivalries a lot better. So it's going into when the tournament, like the final round actually starts, the tensions will be higher, so it's just a solid like setup chapter. Yeah, but I'm excited to see where it gets taken.
Like you said, setup chapter, not a whole lot to dig our teeth into, but I am liking also the teacher of Akane being super invested in her passion is really fun to watch too. I enjoy that.
For sure.
I'm waiting for the dad to show up again. Akane's dad, and to like watch her perform, I think that's gonna be a nice emotional kind of payoff. Yeah, I want him to watch her and be inspired like she was to him. I think that's gonna be really good. But overall, fantastic as always. I'm super glad you forced me to read this one.
It's really solid. It's really solid. Like, my brain's not exploding, but it's the combination of it's really solid and it's really unique that I think makes this kind of it's like pretty highly anticipated from me.
Well, another good week. Like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. We'll get back to you. A lot of setup chapters this week, and One Piece is going on break, so got to gear up for that. But I think Black Clover is going to resume soon, so
I still need to catch up.
You got to catch up. You're behind. So keep a lookout for that. We'll be posting again next week, and we'll see you then.
Peace.